So what is the fastest leveling method in classic WoW? This has been debated since World of Warcraft came out. Throughout the years we have seen different opinions on how to get to level 60 the fastest. Even today people are coming up with new ways to get XP faster than the last. It was common belief back in the day that dungeon groups were terrible for XP per hour, and that solo grinding was a lot faster. However, now it is the current meta of leveling, with guilds like Method almost exclusively relying on dungeon farming to level up during the launch of Classic WoW. So in this video I will list different leveling methods that you can do in Classic WoW and reveal which is the fastest possible XP per hour. But before I get into it, there is still time to enter my giveaway for free $20 Blizzard Balance cards. To enter is really simple. All you have to do is click the Gleam link in the description below and you can win a code to get $20 into your Blizzard account. So to begin this video I will talk about the most obvious way to level, which is questing. This is what the game guides you into doing. You have a linear progression from quest hub to quest hub where you complete various quests to get an XP bonus, in addition to the XP from killing mobs. The previous record holder for the fastest level 60 was Joanna, who relied almost entirely on this method. However, questing in Classic WoW has multiple issues that can eat into your XP per hour. One of the biggest problems when it comes to questing is the travel time from going to quest objective to objective. The travel time is really what holds this back, as the quests in Classic WoW are not exactly localized in a single area. A lot of the time you'll take a quest and it will require you to go to some other part of the map, sometimes on different continents. In later expansions the quests were made to be a lot more efficient, but in Classic WoW probably only half the quests that you can have are actually efficient in terms of getting XP per hour. A lot of leveling guides won't actually take a lot of the quests that you can get, simply because the travel time is way too far. Not to mention, before level 40 your travel time is going to be extremely slow, considering that you don't have a mount until later in the game. Going to a quest objective is going to take a very long time. There are some classes that have it better than others, for example the Hunter, which is what Joanna used to get to level 60 the fastest, have Aspect of the Cheetah, which can significantly increase their movement speed, as well as the Druid and Shaman also have spells that can increase their movement speed before level 40, but for most classes your movement speed is going to be pretty slow. So if you're a class like a Hunter, doing questing might be a good method, but if you're a Priest and you have no way of increasing your movement speed, questing might not be very efficient. Another problem with questing is that you have competition with other players, both on your faction and on the other side. Now I'm sure many people playing on a PvP server will attest to how annoying it is to get killed by a player when you're just trying to quest and level up. However, this happens more often than not, especially on populated servers during peak times. It's just going to be very hard to level up. Whenever you do anything in the open world, you're at risk if you're on a PvP server. And that's something you can't really account for. You can have a guy corpse camp you while you're trying to kill some quest mobs, or you could just be left completely alone. There's no real way to tell beforehand, so it might be better to quest off peak hours so that you don't have too many people competing with you. Okay, so the other leveling method is grinding. Now this used to be a debate back in the day as to whether or not grinding or questing is faster, and to be honest it really depends on how good you are at killing mobs. It's no secret that in Classic WoW, some classes are better at solo leveling than others. The two best solo levelers are the Hunter and the Mage. The most common example is the Hunter. These guys are just absolutely amazing when it comes to solo leveling, but even better than Hunters are the Mages. If Mages spec into improved Blizzard, they can kill a vast amount of mobs without dying. A lot of you guys that have been leveling up characters in the game would have seen a mage AoEing large packs of mobs just by themselves. Mages are pretty much built to do AoE damage. That in combination with their Frost Nova basically ensures that they can do lots of AoE damage without ever being hit. It requires some finesse to do this without dying, but it doesn't take very long to get used to it. Once mages get improved Blizzard and the targets get slowed down to a very slow speed, they can kill packs of mobs up to about 10 at a time just by themselves. Whereas every other class in the game pretty much is only limited to killing 1 or 2 mobs at a time. Mages are the only exception to this. However, that being said, this AoE grinding method from mages has an issue that if a mob has a ranged attack, you can't really kite them in the same way that you can as melee exclusive mobs. So there's only a limited amount of spots on the WoW map that you can actually do this mage AoE grinding method. But this is the best case scenario. For most people's classes, you won't be able to kill mobs this efficiently. Around the mid-level mark as a mage doing this method, I was getting about 25k per hour. and that's like level 35 to level 40. And if I was grinding on single targets as my mage, that 25 to 30k per hour would be about 20k XP per hour. And most classes around the mid-level range will get about 20k per hour by doing grinding. It's just the mage AoE grinding method is a bit of an X factor. Okay, so another method of leveling in Classic WoW is dungeon cleaves. So right now this is kind of the meta when it comes to leveling in Classic WoW. A lot of people swear by clearing dungeons and just repeating them over and over again by resetting the instance and just repeating it, sometimes not even killing the bosses. So if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, dungeon cleaves are specific group compositions that are designed to kill mobs the fastest way possible. They go into dungeons not necessarily to complete quests or to get drops from the boss, but to just kill the trash mobs inside. There are a few variations of groups, but there are 3 broad categories that you can consider when getting into a dungeon cleave group. The first is just a normal group. This is going to be a mishmash of different DPS classes, a healer and a tank. You're going to see rogues, druids, paladins, shamans, all kinds of classes. It's basically just a normal group that is just clearing a dungeon for XP. The other variation of this is the melee cleave group. Now this is going to be quite a bit different. The group composition will be specifically 4 warriors and a healer. Ideally a shaman for the Wind Fury totem. The idea behind melee cleave groups is because a warrior has cleave, having 4 warriors use cleave at the same time is essentially the same as doing AoE damage but with a melee class. This in combination with the Axe Ravager, which has an AoE proc on top of that, basically allows this group to do a lot of AoE damage as melee classes. Considering that back in the day, nobody considered that warriors could be an AoE class, however it turns out you can get some very efficient XP per hour with this group composition. You don't even need a dedicated tank, you just need 4 warriors and you split the damage across yourselves. And of course the healer keeps you guys alive. So the final variation of a dungeon cleave group is of course the Spell Cleave group. So remember what I said about mages being very good at doing AoE damage when it comes to solo grinding? Well, what happens when you have 4 mages and 1 healer? You can do massive amounts of damage across lots of trash mobs at the same time. By having 4 mages use Blizzard at the same time on a group of dungeon trash mobs, you can clear them at an insane rate. And you don't even need a tank, considering that mages have Frost Nova, you can pretty much indefinitely freeze the death pool of mobs so that they can't kill you. That in combination with the slow from improved Blizzard basically allows a group of mages to just run rampant through a dungeon. You only need the healer just to keep these guys alive in case they get hit. But aside from that, you can get some absolutely insane XP per hour. These kind of groups only thrive in a couple of dungeons, such as the Stockades, Scarlet Monastery, Zul'Farrak, and Blackrock Depths. But in those dungeons, if you do this right, you can get some absolutely insane XP per hour. When I was in Scarlet Monastery Cathedral, I was getting 40k to 50k per hour when I was level 37. Scarlet Monastery is pretty much built for Spell Cleave groups, as a lot of the mobs here don't actually have ranged attacks and are so clumped up together that you can easily get them into a big ball and just Frost Nova them and have the other mages use Blizzard on them. You can get some insanely massive pulls using this method and actually get the XP from it. For example, as my mage in Scarlet Monastery Cathedral, I can run to the boss, aggro the entire dungeon, and then have the other mages pull aggro, and then I can Frost Nova literally 50 mobs at a time and Blizzard them down. Doing this is insanely satisfying to do. So that's all well and good, but this is only really built for 2 classes, mages and priests. Priests are useful because they have Power Word Shield, which can protect you when you're pulling mobs. As for the other classes, you're pretty much excluded from this leveling method. Now if you're being fancy, you could include a Warlock or Hunter into that mix, because they can pull mobs with their Hunter pet or Eye of Kilrog, but certainly if you're a mage you should definitely take up this method of leveling, as even compared to AoE grinding in the open world, you can get a good 15 to 20k extra XP per hour compared to that method. So that must be the fastest way to level in Classic WoW. But this is not the case. There is still one way to level up in the game that is even faster than the Spell Cleave groups. And I am talking about power leveling. So when thinking of the term power leveling in Classic WoW, you may think that you're paying some guy to log into your account and it's some kind of weird activity that is against the TOS. But there is a legal way to buy levels in the game that isn't actually against the TOS of World of Warcraft. So recently there's been a popularity in terms of people selling dungeon groups, where it will usually be a level 60 mage that will ask for about 3 to 4 gold per run, where once you join that guy's group, he will basically do all the work by himself and just AoE grind everything inside. And yes, you do get XP while in this group, since the XP you get per mob is actually calculated by the average level of your group. Considering that there's only going to be one level 60 in your group, you can still get a vast majority of the XP from the mob by having a level 60 with you. So unfortunately you do have to pay gold for this, as this is often done by people trying to level up their alts, but fortunately you can be semi-AFK and you can just let the other guy do all the work. All you have to do is go outside the dungeon to reset, and it takes a few minutes per run. However, you can get an absolutely insane amount of XP per hour even at low levels. In my level 30s I paid some mage to power level me through a dungeon, and I was getting literally 70k per hour, which is just absolutely insane, as this guy can just do all the work for me, and I still retain the vast majority of the XP from the mobs. Doing this is quite expensive, about 3 to 4 gold per run, so this is only really worthwhile if you have a main on that server and you can fund this power leveling. But if you're a class that struggles to do solo leveling, such as a warrior or a druid, this might be ideal for you. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you found this video interesting, please drop a like down below and subscribe to my channel for more classic WoW videos. This is vaulty, signing out.